Joe Rogan destroys Bernie Sanders' climate hysteria to his face, and rightfully so. Like, if it was as dire as Bernie Sanders make it out to be, he would not be jet setting around the country on private jets. He would be flying commercial to save, right, on his carbon footprint. If he really believed in this mess. Say what you want about Greta Thunberg. You know, I'm no fan of hers, but at least she lives by what she's saying. She'll take boats and stuff like that and yachts and stuff rather than flying around the country spewing out more CO2. And this lets us know that Bernie Sanders is so fake. He's one of the fakest politicians we have in this country because he feigned that he's some type of socialist and he cares about people and he cares about the environment. But he does the exact opposite of those things. He's a millionaire. There's no way you can be a socialist and be a millionaire, because if you believe in what you say, you be handing out all your money to help these causes that you so-called support, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, let's get into this news, and we'll show the clip in a minute. But PJ Media reports that the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast came out Tuesday, and Rogan's guest was Senator Bernie Sanders. During the interview, Sanders tried to deliver his usual climate change alarmism nonsense, but Joe Rogan wasn't having it. What unfolded was a methodological. I can't talk today. Methodical. Y'all know the word. Dismantling. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm a little under the weather today. Dismantling the climate hysteria Sanders has been pushing for decades, which exposed just how hollow and one-dimensional the senator's talking points have become. But let's get right to the clip here. Here we go.
You got to deal with this climate change issue. And I know that, there are some people who think climate change is a hoax. It ain't a hoax. I think the last 10 years have been the warmest on record. And we can create millions of good-paying jobs, transform.
So if this is the case, I'm gonna try not to cut in too much, because I'm gonna let Rogan cook and stuff. But if this is the case, why are you not living like that? Why do you have big, huge homes for just you and your wife? How come you have multiple vehicles? How come you fly private jet? If you believe in this, if you believe in any of this alarmism that you're pushing, it is not adding up, right?
Our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency, to solar, to wind, and other sustainable energies.
I think the climate change issue is very complicated. And I think, did you see the Washington Post piece that they wrote, where they did this long-term view? First of all, the reality is that the Earth's temperature has never been static, right? We could both agree on that.
Absolutely.
It's always been up and down. There's been ice ages and heat waves. And then the Washington Post looked at it. What was the time period that they looked at? That essentially they found that we're in a cooling period.
Yep. That
the Earth over the past X amount of years, and this was like a very inconvenient discovery, but
haven't I been saying that for years? We call it it's called a solar minimum. We're in a solar minimum right now, where the sun isn't as active as we don't have as many solar flares as we normally have. So the temperatures is going down. Actually, I've been saying that for years. It's in the studies. All you have to do is read this stuff.
They had to report the data, and kudos to them for doing that. Scientists have captured the Earth's climate change over the last 485 million years. Here's a surprising place we stand now. So look at the far end of that graph, and you see we're in a cooling period.
Yep.
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
But
yeah.
I'm not sure. I have my own science that I believe in,
The scientists who are out there, I think.
I know, but there's a lot of money involved in that too, Bernie. That's part of the problem. There's a lot of money involved in this whole climate change emergency issue, and there's a lot of control, and that's a big part of this problem. Not only that, if we're just talking about primarily carbon and carbon footprint, what are we going to do about China? Because China is like, what percentage of
they are the major polluter right now in terms of carbon. We're number two. We used to be one. They are number one right now.
I think they have an enormous percent of the global I think it's
Well, they're number one. I don't know what
very
the percent.
high. It's
Look,
very high.
it's not an American issue. It is a global issue. And all I can tell you is that we are, in my view, going to see more extreme weather disturbances in the coming years than we have ever. And we're seeing them right now. We are seeing
Right,
There you go.
but scientists don't agree. Well, this is where it gets confusing, because scientists that are in agreement, there's all these entanglements. Whenever someone's discussing something, whether it's economics or whether it's health issues or pharmaceutical drugs, there's financial entanglements. I think we both agree with that, right?
Yep.
And I think this is part of the issue with this whole climate change emergency as well, because it's not just that we could all agree pollution is a major factor. It's a huge issue in the world today. We could all agree with that, right? I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that whenever there's an issue that everyone can agree on, you're going to have a bunch of people that capitalize on that issue, and they look to gain more money. They have financial issues that they push forward in order to capitalize on this issue, but then also power and control. These things like they're trying to institute in the UK, where they have these 15-minute cities, this concept where you're not allowed to travel. They'll be able to look at your carbon footprint. See, that's the problem. The problem is giving people that are in power, these people that we've all discussed that have so much money and so much control over our societies, multinational corporations, giving them more control over citizens. And this is a vehicle for that. And this is what's dangerous about this whole climate change emergency. Because it allows these fucking creeps that have been controlling people and controlling what you do and what you say and how you spend your money with people that already live in check to check, and you put additional constraints on them and you make them even more scared. And then you put additional measures where you can look at their carbon footprint. You can look at the amount they travel. Put a carbon tax on these people. Let's figure out how to extract more money from them. That's what bothers me about this climate change emergency. Not that we can all agree pollution is a terrible thing. Everyone should agree to that. The beautiful earth that sustains us and all life on this planet is being poisoned as we speak. We're killing all the fish in the ocean and sucking them out in giant numbers. 94% of all the big fish that are in the ocean are gone over the last, whatever it is.
When you go to war against nature, you lose.
Yeah, because you're a part of nature.
Loses. Exactly
but
right.
We're worshiping the almighty dollar.
You got it.
Above the mother.
Facts. Wow. The way that Joe Rogan breaks that down is concise and it's real, it's matter of fact, where you can understand it. I love that. But he's echoing everything I've been saying over the years when it comes to so-called climate change. But in the end, it wasn't just a debate. It was a humiliation. Bernie Sanders came around with the tired slogans. Joe Rogan came armed with facts, context, and common sense. And for anyone paying attention, the winner wasn't even close. So yeah, there we go. There we need to speak out against this stuff. This whole climate change stuff, whether it's true or not, the elites are using this for power and control to try to manipulate us, to try to take money from us, and to earn more power. And that's what I've been talking about for years when it comes to this whole climate change stuff. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.